On this season premiere of Latinas, we'll talk to Latinx moms about homeschooling, see how Latinas are affecting change in New York City Council, demystify vaccines, and so much more. Latinas starts now. Welcome to the fourth season of Latinas, the show that celebrates nuestras mujeres in the Latinx community. I'm Tina Beth Pina. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and that's why we're uptown and in Barrio in New York City, where we celebrate Latinidad all year long. Keeping our culture alive and being represented has always been very important to us, especially in New York City, where, according to the last U.S. Census, we account for almost 30% of the entire population here. And now, we're poised to be a force on the government level as well. In last year's election cycle, the 51-member New York City Council became the first ever female majority, thanks in part to more Latinas getting elected. Marlene Peralta followed a few of them at City Hall to see how they are changing this important legislative arm of New York City government in today's Prospecto Latina.
We need to celebrate that fact that this is one of the most diverse city councils and that Latinas are here in large numbers and we're women. Traditionally, we see Latino men represented in these halls of power, and we are seeing now a shift. For me, it's a reflection that the majority of my electorate is women, about 54%, and that it is about time that we have the positions that reflect our electorate and represent our communities, right?
Latinas are reflecting the communities they represent and also holding important leadership roles within the New York City Council. De La Rosa is the chair of the Civil Service and Labor Committee. Amanda Farias chairs the Economic Development Committee.
I'm not only the first woman to chair this committee, but I'm actually the first Latino, period, to ever chair this committee. And so I'm filling in a spot that means I oversee a lot of different aspects of the city that are really important, not only to the Latino community, but just the city, period. I'm overseeing tourism and what does economic recovery actually mean? How do we get industries back on target for hitting their goals and people back into our communities locally and here in Manhattan? I get to oversee the NYC ferry system, which is really important to me, particularly because the Bronx has 2 ferry landings and I have one in my community.
These Latinas say their lived experiences in intergenerational homes have inspired them to push policies that can grant stability to Latino families, such as housing and worker protections.
We are focused on making sure that diversity is not just a talking point, but that the civil service exam, for example, reflects the needs of our community so that we can compete and be promoted. It's not enough to say we have Latinos at this agency. We need us running these agencies. We need women in power. We need to make sure that we are opening the spaces for our community to really have a voice of leadership. As a Dominican, we are 1 in 8 New Yorkers is Dominican. As Latinos, we are the majority minority community in this city. And it is about time that we get our due respect and that we are reflected at all levels of government.
Having Carmen De La Rosa, the councilwoman representing Upper Manhattan in one of the most dense, probably has been in the past one of the most dense Latino communities in the city, is critical that this voice that represents workers, be a woman and it be a Latina. That's an amazing thing. Probably the first Latina to chair such a position. I think probably the first Latino to chair it, at least in the city. And so I think that's a critical piece.
Overall, Latinos now make up 30% of the 51-member body. 10 of the 15 Latino council members are women. This increase, experts say, is a big win for representation, as it matches the share of the Latino population in the city.
But for the first time, we have parity when it comes to ethnic majorities in terms of the Latinos, with the 28.3% of the city. We now have 30% of the city council, and then so much more women, really indicative of the realities that we have power if we can come together and make that happen.
With more Latinas and Latinos at the city council level, it puts us a step closer to getting Latinos elected at a citywide level. Maybe we'll get a Latina mayor in the near future. For Latinas, I am Marlene Peralta.
The COVID-19 pandemic forced many parents to homeschool their kids nationwide, and in New York City, homeschooling has nearly doubled as Latinx parents are also foregoing traditional public schools in favor of homeschooling. Correspondent Elena Romero spoke with two Latina moms to learn more.
When Carolina Pichardo started seeing her son having difficulty with school during the COVID pandemic, she turned to homeschooling as her solution.
Once the pandemic hit and I was able to really see the structure of where he was in and how behind he was, for me, it was very concerning. So we pulled him out. We tried homeschooling.
Pichardo represents the growing number of Hispanic families driving the country's homeschooling movement.
I started just researching and seeing other parents that did it, going online, of course, social media. I think I joined every Facebook group that was made and that I found just to kind of start navigating and learning it. And yeah, we've been doing it for 2 years, going on 3, our 3rd year now, so.
3 million students in the U.S. are homeschooled, with the majority of students being white. Latino students make up the second largest group with more than 26% of the homeschooling population, according to the data from the National Household Education Surveys program.
We decided to homeschool way before we even had children. We're a Christian family, so it was very important to us to implement that in our children, our values, our culture as well. We also wanted to have a say in their education and want to spend more time with them as well.
Bevzy J. Zelaya and her husband homeschooled all 3 of their children.
We started with Josiah, our eldest. At the time, he was 3. I decided to do that because it was very important for him to understand the structure and know that mom was not going to just be mom, but teacher.
Zelaya contacted the DOE and the Central Office of Homeschooling to ensure she was homeschooling her child legally.
We started with the letter of intent, which is a letter that stipulates that we are intending to homeschool. From there, we also did an IHIP, which an IHIP is a syllabus of what you're going to be teaching your child in the curriculum you've chosen to do. Along with that, throughout the year of homeschooling, you have to have 4 quarterly reports that have to be done, which are really a report of the progress that your child is making. You have to include an annual assessment, which is an assessment of your child in promoting him to the next grade. Or, depending on the grade, he also has to get standardized testing.
There are many misconceptions around homeschooling, from it being only for faith-based families to homeschoolers not being able to socialize or go to college.
A lot of people think being homeschooled is different because when I tell people I'm homeschooled, they have this kind of weird reaction to it. And I'm saying, it's just really nothing different except you're home with your family and you're learning in a manner that could help you if you're not understanding certain things.
While learning the process of homeschooling can be overwhelming, Latina moms say the reward outweighs the challenges.
It's not something that you do overnight. I mean, definitely you have to, do your research on this.
Our children need us to show them the options that are available, and it's a way of us not only taking a stance and showing that there's options and opportunities, but that for them as well, there's a freedom in how they design and frame their lives that I think we should own up to and do as well. So.
For Latinas, I'm Elena Romero.
Last season, we met with 3 transgender men who shared with us their personal challenges and new sense of freedom. Today, we continue the conversation and hear how they came out to their families in this episode's Caliente Caliente.
I came out to my parents on FaceTime.
Oh, dang.
Because I was in a different state. I was in a different state.
Okay.
And I just know we all got on a 3-way FaceTime call, and I just had to tell them like that. I have something to tell you. And then they're like, what's going on? You know, because it was kind of sporadic, like out of nowhere, I just hit them up and I was very emotional. I just felt very shaky. I was like super nervous and just wondering how they were going to react or how they were going to take it. But honestly, like luckily my family, my mom and my dad, they're like super, super, super supportive.
So my mom actually knew before me. Surprisingly, I was putting away clothes in my closet and my mom goes, you have something to tell me. And mind you, I'm already 30 years old, right? So I already came out a bunch of times. I came out as bisexual, then lesbian, then this, that, and third. So I was like, what? Like my heart dropped. I was like, what the hell, what is she talking about?
That's that Latina shit.
Yeah, that's like my mom knew.
Intuition,
my mom
intuition.
knew. And I was like, I looked at her and she's like, just tell me, I know. I bawled, I cried, I sat on the couch, I sat in her arms. And mind you, me coming out bisexual and lesbian was really hard for her. Like, she beat me, she sent me away, and she like did the most, right? So this time I was scared, of course, right? But surprisingly, she was super supportive.
I came out, it was kind of funny. I wrote a letter, and
old school.
My mom was like dropping me off at school, and I just hand it to her and I run into the school. And the whole day I was so anxious because I had to see her after school. And when it was time to go home, my dad was the one that picks me up, and he doesn't do that. And I was like, oh no, she's really mad. And then my dad is like telling me like, I love you no matter what. Like, why didn't you tell me sooner? Stuff like that. And I was like, whew, okay. But now I got to see mom. And got home and was kind of just waiting in my room for her. And she came in crying. And she was like, it's okay and blah, blah, blah. But like, it was weird because like she was so accepting. But then there were days where she would use it against me when she was mad at me. And she would be like, you're not a boy. You're never going to be a boy.
I think with family is such a growing experience for everyone because there's still, it's like you think you're transitioning on your own, you have all these thoughts in your own head and like how you want your life to be, but it's like externally your family is an extension of you, so it's like they have to transition with you too.
It's all about
I went through similar
patience.
Patience basically.
That's a big word.
And like understanding, and it's a beautiful feeling when they actually self-assure you, when they use your correct pronouns, when they use your name that you know your preferred name and things like that. But honestly, like the people that took it the worst, my brothers. Like my brothers were on some like real stubborn, like no matter what, I'm never gonna call you my brother. You always gonna be my sister.
Was like that too.
Like don't expect me. He was like, and then they honestly just thought like I was just crazy. Like he's just like, you crazy. Like there's no way. And then we kind of don't talk now. That's the downside, I feel like, of your fears of like losing family, and it does happen. So
yeah, we have that in common with one of my brothers he's more religious, and he didn't accept it at all at first. It took him a lot, like years of me trying to educate him, and now he's more accepting of it.
They're just like, you gonna go to hell.
Yeah.
My brother has little like kids. I have nephews, and I think that's also maybe why he doesn't want to accept or have me around, because they didn't want me to be like a negative influence. Like I'm gonna rub the queer off on the kids or something. I'm like,
that's not how that works.
I know.
My sister too, like she didn't want to call me a brother, like her brother. She always said like, nah, I've always had a sister. But when I went last year to go visit her, we went for a wedding, and it was so awkward for her to introduce me as her sister, because she'll feel like uncomfortable, like, because then the person will look at me and then look at her and be like, this girl's crazy. Like, what the heck?
You're clearly masculine. You look like a man.
I think that the issue is that they're like, if you weren't born with a penis, like you would never be a man in their eyes.
Exactly.
But I'm just like, you can't base, I guess, your manhood just on that one thing. So really I just feel like it's a lot that covers what makes you a man.
It's the same thing with like women, where they say, oh, if you, like a whole thing with pregnancy and stuff like that. It's like not every woman can conceive. So like you're saying they're not real women?
We'll dive even deeper into their lives next month when they talk about gender identity. Stay tuned. Ada Limón is the first U.S. poet laureate of Latino and Mexican-American descent. The Library of Congress named Limón as the nation's 24th poet laureate this past summer. The honor came shortly after the publication of her 6th book, The Hurting Kind. In her new position, Limon wants to celebrate not just poets, but poetry as a whole. That's why Ada Limon is today's Badass Latina. The coronavirus pandemic led many to question the efficacy of not only the COVID-19 vaccine, but of vaccines in general. Many people of color, in particular, have had concerns about vaccine safety due to centuries of having their trust violated when it comes to healthcare. And now, with monkeypox on the horizon, we want to demystify vaccines overall and empower you with the knowledge you need to make the best decision about vaccines for you and your familia.
60% of the Latino community and people of color are open and readily, so to say, available to receive vaccines, specifically when it's related to their children. So when it's regarding their own vaccines, that's where I do see more of a hesitancy. There's a lot of mistrust, but most of all, there's a lot of misinformation.
I think there's a little fatigue in the community, and they're thinking, how many boosters do I have to get? Do you know?
With COVID-19 vaccine fatigue taking its toll and monkeypox vaccines being talked about in the media, many people continue to be skeptical about what exactly is being injected into their bodies.
I had my doubts in the beginning. There was a lot of talk about the COVID vaccine affecting your fertility. And I'm a young woman. I have no children. I want to be a mother. So that was my main concern. I investigated. I read about it. I have medical knowledge, so I was able to discern, okay, so this vaccine acts this way. There's no possible way that a vaccine can change my DNA. There's no possible way that a vaccine can affect my fertility in this case.
The COVID-19 vaccine affecting your fertility is one myth that Dr. Martinez debunked for herself, but there is other vaccination misinformation out there. For instance, many people have read that vaccines in general contain unsafe amounts of toxins like formaldehyde or aluminum, but those very ingredients actually serve a purpose and the amounts are minute.
Aluminum salts are sometimes added to some vaccines as adjuvant, so they enhance your immune response and maybe produce a longevity for the immune response. I know it has been somewhat controversial and that's been out there, I would say, but the amounts are minuscule. Studies show it doesn't have any lasting detrimental effects on your body. So because of that, they still have it in some vaccines.
Another myth would be if you get vaccinated, they're putting the disease or whatever it is in me. So I'm going to get sick anyway.
Yes.
How do you demystify that?
Okay. There's actually different types of vaccine. So the mRNA vaccine, specifically for COVID, has no live virus or viral component or even weakened or dead virus in there. There are vaccines, they're called weakened viruses or attenuated viruses that we use for specifically MMR vaccine and varicella. So it's not recommended if you have a low immune system to get a live virus because it's weakened, but it's potentially you could get of that disease from that vaccination. But that's only if you have a weakened immune system and your doctor would never give you that vaccine.
Another vaccine myth that both Dr. An and Dr. Martinez are often asked about by parents is whether they should vaccinate their kids, since they have heard that vaccinations can cause their children to develop autism.
False. Completely false. People who believe that specifically the MMR vaccine is related to autism is because there was an article that came out, a study by a doctor, I believe in the 1990s, like 1996 or so, which actually stated this, that the MMR vaccine was linked to autism. What people don't know is that later on, this same doctor retracted that article. Medicine is always evolving.
And as medicine evolves, vaccine myths will evolve as well. It's the medical community's hope that people nationwide will take the time to inform themselves of medical developments and speak to their doctors to see what's best for them when it comes to vaccinations.
A vaccine is a way to give your body that little dose that it needs so that your immune system can activate all of the defenses that it needs So my personal hope is that different illnesses that still don't have vaccines can be produced. And hopefully we can also find a way to either lower the amount of doses required for a specific vaccine, as well as making it a little bit more comfortable for our little ones.
Every year, from September 15th to October 15th, we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. But what does Latinidad really mean for nuestras mujeres?
I came to this country 12 years ago, chasing a dream.
My parents have taught me a lot of respect towards this country, towards all cultures, especially our culture, and also being able to adapt here.
I'm Cuban. I left my country, leaving everything behind, my parents, my friends, my education.
I was born in the Dominican Republic. My mom was the seamstress of my hometown.
The family is the backbone of our life and the main resource of happiness and support.
Our parents, they came here with, perhaps very little education.
Y trabajaron muy duro para que yo estuviera acá. Por ellos, sí, yo quiero completar las metas que ellos no podían completar.
When I got here, I was very passionate about education because I thought that that was my only way to be able to accomplish my dream.
With my art, I try to show the people the richness of our culture, the richness of our ancestors.
What I would like that everyone learns about us is the way how our ancestors respected natural resources.
We have this ethics, it gets transmitted down the generations, and I think our drive and our passion is what I admire the most about our community.
And men, we are fearless. We come here, we face a new language, new culture, and so many difficulties and challenges, and yet we stand up and we fight for our dreams and for a better tomorrow.
Dance was something that they did inherit down because my father was a dancer and he loved dancing. So I think that's how I stay mostly connected to my culture.
I am so proud of being a Latina.
September is synonymous with New York Fashion Week, and Afro-Ecuadorian model Natalie Quiñones is about to tell us why representation matters in the fashion industry. That's why this rising supermodel is today's Latina on the rise.
Last year was the first time I was participating in a fashion week here, and that was like the goal for me. When they say, Natalie, you're okay for the fashion week, just I was crying because I was thinking, oh my God, I'm here in New York, I'm in a fashion week. I'm Natalie Quiñones and I'm from Ecuador. I am an international model and I had worked for brands like MAC Cosmetics, Macy's, Target, Bar Mineral, Oysho, Corte Inglés, Argentina, Marcova, and many more. This past year, my life changed 100%. I was learning about the working visa process. I was learning the language. I was learning how can I make new friends and my new family here. And looking at Paramen, everything, was a great challenge. And that's, the same time was hard, but it was beautiful because I know me and I love who I am. I used to be a basketball player in Ecuador, but I hurt my knee. And that was so hard for me, so sad for me because I was so younger. I come back to my house and they have a traditional celebration, Reina de Belleza. I don't know why, I feel this is my moment for me. I called to my mom and say, Mom, I want to do that. And my mom was like, how? We don't have money, we don't have anything. And she said, okay, Natalie, I support you, let's do it. In this moment, I start to feeling beautiful, confident about myself, because I am tall, I'm very skinny. I won the Reina de Belleza in Esmeraldas, my city. I win and I start to be a voice not just for me, voice for the other girls, black girls, to feeling more strong, more beautiful, because we don't have a representation. There is a real problem with black community and indigenous community in Ecuador because they don't have the same opportunity about the job, about the education, about the health. For me, it's important to talk about that in social media, and this is my opportunity for share about my experience here in New York, because we need to make a change. To be a good model, the first step is to have a good energy, because the mood the model affects all the team. The second step is take care of yourself. It's very important. Doesn't matter, I think so, if you are model or not model, take care of yourself is important. You're feeling great when you do it. I love the person that I'm becoming here in New York. And I believe in myself. I believe in the decision I'm taking every day. My big dream is keep growing my career, and at the same time to be an inspiration for the woman in Ecuador, but especially for the black girl in my city, Esmeraldas.
And that's our show for today. For more information on what you just saw, check out our website at tv.cuny.edu and follow our social media profiles, because we love sharing our Latino stories with you. And please make sure you tune in next month, where we'll meet the Latina on the rise at the Godwich Turnbach Museum, learn what we need to do to lessen our chances of developing breast cancer, and so much more. ¡Uepa! Hasta la próxima. Bye-bye.